everyone, welcome to the 420 Smoke Room. Today our guest is Summer. We're here to talk about cannabis and what led her to her use of cannabis. Hi Summer, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you, girl?
I'm good.
Good.
So, what led you to cannabis?
Well, the first time I ever smoked in my entire life was with my brother. I was I think I was 15, and I thought it was just a recreational thing. I didn't even know about any of the actual benefits of it until I became physically ill. But my cannabis use, I started smoking pretty regularly in 2016.
Okay. So what was going on with you in 2016? I know that I've done a previous podcast with you on Sprinkle Some Love with a Cause, but those are like a different audience. So for this audience, explain to them in like a shorter term of what exactly was going on with you?
Well, I got extremely ill in 2016, and I was diagnosed with severe gastroparesis and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So I was having very, very hard time keeping weight on. I was losing weight drastically, and I was throwing up at least 40 times a day. Literally, it was awful. And the only thing that gave me relief was cannabis.
Yes, because gastroparesis is paralyzation of the stomach. For those of you who don't know, so it's paralyzed, so it physically hurts to eat, and then you become malnutrition, you become sick, then there's a million surgeries along the way to try to aid and embed and help it, from feeding tubes to stimulators to just constantly replacing those and maintaining those. So Summer has been through quite a bit, I definitely would say, with all of that, being a severe case of GP.
Yeah. Yep, I've been through the ringer, but having these natural medicines really do make it that much easier to live my life with some sort of quality to it.
Definitely, I would agree so. So what was the first things that you kind of noticed for marijuana-wise that were helping you? Like, what was your first thoughts in 2016 or 17 when you first started using it for chronically ill reasons?
Well, when I first started smoking, it stopped my stomach pain, almost instantaneously. It helped with my nausea instantly, and it helped with the physical stomach pain of it feels like someone was kicking me in the stomach repeatedly. It was a it's a painful feeling when you go into a flare, as you know.
Yes, definitely.
And I just smoke, and those first couple hits really just take all the edge off, and it helps me be able to keep down water. It's it's a life-changing thing.
I agree with you. So at that point, what made you realize that it was actually the marijuana helping and not some of the other treatments that you were currently receiving?
Well, every single medicine they tried me on, I had adverse reactions to, and there aren't many options for me right now. So marijuana, honestly, my doctor from University of Michigan was the one to suggest it. So I was like, okay, I mean, if you're suggesting it, then I'll definitely give it a try. And from then on, it was just game changing. It changed my life.
Definitely. So for those of you who don't know, at that time, kind of let the audience know what position you were in and what choices you had as far as medically before making that choice. I didn't want to put it all out there, but kind of start a little bit of that so they can see the change and understand.
Well, before I started smoking marijuana, or medical cannabis, as you want to say, I got down to 62 pounds before I was able to get a feeding tube placed surgically. And once I started smoking, it helped with the pain from the surgeries that I had to get, and it helped me put back on almost 60 pounds. Now I'm at 130, and it's a very healthy weight for my height. So it brought me a long ways.
And
I was getting hospice.
Yeah, I was about to say, weren't you on hospice as well?
Yeah, I was on hospice
deciding
for
to
a
smoke
month.
marijuana?
Yeah, I was on palliative care as well.
Last resort medication that actually ended up taking you off of hospice and getting you rejuvenated to where you are now.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, it broke up.
Oh, it's okay. I said, so basically it got you off of hospice and rejuvenated to where you are now and help you along the way to your recovery.
Right, absolutely.
That is awesome
100%.
to hear. Because you don't hear very many cases where marijuana is what saves a hospice patient.
No.
Normally it's kind of something we do because screw it, we're going to die anyway, so I might as well try it or say I've done it if I haven't already. But you don't really think that this is going to be what medically is going to save your life after all the treatments and surgeries you've had, that cannabis was going to be the thing, you know?
I definitely did not ever, in 25 years of me being alive, I have not ever thought that cannabis would play such a big role in my life. It really, really, it brought me back down as a person. It helped me be able to handle family events again, be able to be around my grandma, see my mom more. It's nice. I mean, I do notice some not mental issues. Let me rephrase that. I notice some slowing of my brain processing, but I don't know if that's from the marijuana use or if that's just from being so ill with the multiple different illnesses I do have.
Yeah, I could see where that could be a thought. So for me, being similar to you with like the same similar diseases, I know like my memory in my head and my thoughts sometimes are a little cloudy or foggy. Like I said before, like when my vitamin B12 and certain things are low, because those play a big part. Like your vitamin D3 and your B12 are so important for your head and memory and thoughts, and foggy thoughts, you know, to not be. That when they're low or depleted, sometimes those are side effects. And then when I would take my vitamins, it would go away. Because at first, I kind of thought for me too, it was the marijuana. But then once I learned about the other issues I had, when I would medicate for those with those vitamins, those issues would go away, and I'm still smoking the marijuana, and I didn't change anything I'm doing. So I kind of wrote it off as it has to be the other issues I had going on, like with my malnutrition issues.
Yeah.
So that's something to think. Plus, I know that for around me, I often know other people that are smoking, and whether they're sick or not sick, that's still not their side effect. So I've kind of realized that that's more of a different issue. But sometimes we do get high.
Yeah, it definitely probably is a different issue.
Yeah, but we do get high sometimes, and like, you know, they say like it interferes with your way of thinking, but it's not so much of like the memories or anything like that. It's just more or less like sometimes you're high and you're moving too fast, or you're talking too fast, or you're going just too fast type of thing. If that makes sense. Yeah. So anyways, I want to also touch bases a little bit on what are the ways that you consume marijuana? What is your preference? Do you like bong? Do you like bowl? Do you like joints, blunts, wax, tinctures, edibles? There's a million ways nowadays. So or even wax pens. So what is your preference?
Definitely smoking wax is my all-time favorite way to smoke.
Okay. And do you notice a difference from the wax to the flower?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Flower, I probably would have to smoke at this point a whole eighth to get some type of high or medical effect from it. I take like 2 dabs and I'm good for hours. Like, yeah, it's more potent in my opinion, and you don't need as much of it.
Okay. I do agree with you on that, for sure.
Love wax. Wax is my favorite. Me and my mom. My mom is also an avid marijuana user, and it changed her life as well.
Okay.
So
And I know that your mom was there with you. Would she like to talk a little bit about how that has changed her life, or does she want to come on?
no, she
No.
said no.
Okay.
She
I fully
doesn't really.
understand. I understand.
Yeah,
No need to
but I
explain.
can answer mostly any
Yeah. So
question
how
you
has
have.
marijuana changed her life? If you want to answer for her.
Physically, I know before she got diagnosed with diabetes, she was having a lot of the same symptoms we have with GP, with vomiting, and marijuana was really helpful, playing a role in that area to help your physical pain.
Okay.
It helps her physical pain. She has arthritis and fibromyalgia.
Okay.
And she suffers from a few mental conditions as well, and it really helps in those areas also with anxiety and sleep. And
Yeah, definitely. Like PTSD and things like that, and anxiety, marijuana is awesome for. It is definitely a calm relaxation.
yeah,
Like USA, relaxing medication for sure. So I'm really glad to hear the benefits that your whole family are able to benefit from the medication. That's awesome to hear. I know that when you and I spoke, we talked about your pharmaceutical medications and how you were able to eliminate some of those. Would you like to kind of tell the audience a little bit about how you were able to transition from pharmaceutical meds for a good percentage, not all, but a good percentage for cannabis?
yeah.
Like, how did you do
I was
that?
taking probably on an average of 20 different medications a day, 20 to 30, and now I only take 7. Um, a lot of those medications were motility medications, muscle strengthening medications, nausea and vomiting medications, anxiety medications. It's just everything and anything under the sun. I replaced a majority of those with wax. It really, really helps with my mental issues, helps me sleep, helps my anxiety, my palpitations. It's more of an effective, fast working medication, in my opinion, than what I was on.
Would you recommend it to other GP
I
fighters?
recommend it to everyone, even if you don't have physical issues like we have, you know? Still, it's a nice way to unwind instead of drinking. It doesn't make you sick. It's just, well, it can make you sick if you are allergic. You know how that goes as
Right.
well. But it's not a very common thing.
No, I think I've seen like 2 people in my life ever actually be
Yeah.
allergic to pot. And I was like, ooh, I feel sorry for you.
Yeah, no, me
Like,
too.
so yeah, definitely. So at this point, would you say that marijuana is your go-to for sure over all of your other pain medications or first options of pain medications?
Oh, yeah. I have to have at least a gram of wax on me at all times. I have to have wax all the time. I cannot go without it. It's the number one medication I make sure I absolutely have. And I do still rely on some medications, like I said, but the marijuana definitely takes the edge off of the majority of those issues.
Yes. Well, of course, we assume, like, whenever we're trying to eliminate pharmaceutical medications, it's just a process of winging out which ones do we really need and which ones don't we need. Because sometimes we come in there with an actual diagnosis for a condition and they give you medications that let's say, autoimmune disease actually needs, like daily. You need to take these.
Oh, yeah.
Then you have those lists where I came in with a fever, or I came in with a bellyache, or I came in because I was nauseous, or I came in because I had a rash, or I came in, and like you end up every time you leave with a new medication, for these things, and eventually you have a duffel bag. So over that time, you
Oh,
eliminate,
yeah.
I would say, the symptomatic medications, because the symptomatic ones over time, if you get rid of those symptoms, we can get rid of those meds. But as far
Absolutely.
as the pharmaceutical goes for like the underlying diseases, when we're speaking,
Always consult your doctor
yes,
before.
that's what I was getting to. When we're speaking about eliminating them, we're not actually stating to eliminate
No.
all of your medications, especially the ones that your body are deemed necessary for certain underlying diseases or conditions. I just kind of wanted to put that out there, that even
Yeah, it's
myself
just
at
a very
times,
nice additive to have to your medication regimen for sure.
yes, or to
But
eliminate those symptomatic medications that they give you for all of those
yeah,
random things that you
never
come
ever
in.
stop taking meds without talking to your doctor first, for
For
sure.
sure. Yeah, so putting that out there for anybody who's thinking of doing what we're discussing. Like she said, she went to her doctor's, her doctor approved it, and they slowly together worked her off of the medications that deemed necessary to remove, and here she is down to 7. Oh, from 2016 or 2017.
2000,
I forget what year you said.
2016, a year
16.
after I graduated. So
Sweet.
2016.
So all the way until now, and now she's at 7. So it's been a few years, obviously. So it wasn't something that just was done overnight. You don't want
No,
to shock your
it's
body. You don't want to
definitely a
just,
process.
yes. And your body has to be accepting the process. Sometimes our body's not ready, so we got to go longer. It just depends on your body and your doctors and what your team, comes up with for your treatment plan. So,
And don't be surprised if your doctor is not for medical marijuana, but it does help if you get your card before you even bring it up to your doctor.
yeah, so here in Michigan, we have the option for a card, but not all states have the option yet, and not all states are legal, and not all states can get those cards just
Yes,
the way that we have the option. So it's a lot
right.
of a harder process, but definitely can try to get as much of the legal process done as possible if you are serious about it before consulting doctors, or find a doctor that is pro marijuana that agrees with
Yeah,
that, and then change to that doctor and figure out a regimen with that doctor of how to move forward.
right.
But every state kind of is a little different, and some of the countries, because this is nationwide, so some
Oh,
countries aren't obviously legal either, and some are already fully legal and they don't even have a process that they have to do. They just
yeah, I was
they're
gonna
lucky
say
in
if
some
you
countries.
aren't in a marijuana supported state, just be careful.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
by all means, relieve those symptoms.
Yes, I can't wait for marijuana to be legal everywhere.
Oh, I
It's
know. It's just a
definitely,
matter of time at this point.
I feel like it's something the whole world needs to enjoy
Oh
and
my
use the full
gosh,
benefits and
yes.
potential of, and maximize every use to benefit us as the people.
Yeah, I definitely don't understand. Like, one of my best friends lives in Denmark and she was born and raised there. She's never tried marijuana. They can't even like talk about it there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad for you because you struggle like I do. I can't imagine.
Right. How life would be if you had to revert to
Oh,
not having it. You would be back in hospice where
yeah.
you probably started.
I would not be here right now if I didn't have it. And I'm being
Very true. I
150% honest. I
I
mean,
believe that.
people don't believe me, like my dad and everyone, it took them a while for them to get okay with the fact that I need marijuana in order to live. Like, and my dad's more accepting of it now, thank God. But I mean, if he didn't see the change that it brought to my life, then no one would ever believe me.
So I kind of want to touch bases real quick on what that changes again for the audience. So I'm going to say a few things. So basically with
Mm-hmm.
gastroparesis, she cannot eat regular food, and when you get a feeding tube at times, depending on which type, at times because they change, sometimes you can't put food in your mouth at all. You're literally living through the tube of whatever is your regimen for the day. So to be able to get off of a feeding tube, which was no food, and be able to go back to consuming food on a daily for a GP patient is like very, very rarely heard of.
Oh, yeah.
It's like very, very, very rare. I couldn't even give a percentage, to be real, but that's how rare it is. So I just kind of want the audience to understand. So when she's saying she needs marijuana, it's not an addictive need. It's a true need
No.
because her body literally would not be able to crave the munchies to eat the food, and her body wouldn't be able to endure the pain that it takes to digest the food, and she would vomit it up the food. So even if she endured all of that, keeping it down is a whole nother factor. Then getting it to go through and be mobile through those nerves, through all the way to create a bathroom, obviously a bowel movement. That's our goal after eating. To be able to do that without marijuana, these things are not possible because we don't have medications to stimulate those nerves. Marijuana stimulates certain nerves and receptors in our body that our mind can't even grasp at this point in age and technology. And that is why marijuana is curing like certain epilepsy patients. Because it is actually working in so many patients. And gastroparesis is a big nerve disease, which is why some people that are diabetic get it, because when those diabetes, the insulin messes with the nerves, and those same nerves that are messed with the insulin levels are the same nerves that are cause GP. So that's why certain diabetic patients tend to get GP. But that is why marijuana works for diabetic patients like your mother, and GP patients like you, and a lot of patients like epilepsy patients, because of that nerve. And the PTSD is the number one way. They were prescribing our U.S. soldiers marijuana for PTSD after many different wars before decriminalizing it. The government was prescribing it to its set employees. So I definitely feel like marijuana is a healer of many, many diseases. And I've never felt like there's a single pharmaceutical medication that's a one fit all for a disease or all diseases. But I definitely feel like marijuana fits that to a high percentage. I would never be able to say that this pharmaceutical medication you can take for all these diseases and it'll fix all the patients no matter what their symptoms are. Just give them this, like the antidote.
Yeah, it's very rare to find a medication that helps more than one issue.
Let alone all the things marijuana does. I haven't found something that tops marijuana in the pharmaceutical industry or that levels up to it in the pharmaceutical industry other than CBD products, which again are not pharmaceutical, but they are legal in all the states. CBD is the only next best thing that I found. So in any state that marijuana is not legal, revert to CBD and similar things should happen for you.
Right. And let me just clarify too, like you said, it's not an addiction. Like I mentally and physically could live without marijuana.
But your
probably physically I really don't know if I could. But I am so dependent on the relief that it brings me and how it doesn't affect my ability to function. It's just the ultimate way to go for me. It's not a need. It is a need. I don't
think
know
what you're trying to properly word is it's not so much like if you wanted to live without it. It's not a mental
addiction.
Right. If you wanted to live without it, you mentally could, but your body is physically needing it as a medication the same way your body with lupus physically needs anti-malaria meds. The same way that your body with AIDS needs suppressants or HIV. The same way that your body with any chronically ill issue, like for instance, they give Relevnt for those of us with GP. And some people can't live without it because their body literally needs it to function. So some people don't realize that when you go to sleep every night or you wake up every day, your body is doing things for you that you don't even know, like helping you go pee, helping you go poop, helping you digest food. These are all things that GP patients struggle with because their disease. So in order, like when their body can't, like they can't just go to sleep and tell your body, because you can't tell your body to do those things. That's just something your body naturally does or doesn't do. You know what I mean? It's kind of, you're on your own type of thing. So the doctors can't really treat that they add stimulators, they add man-made things, because there's no way to control the body. You don't just close your eyes and recommand your body and just reprogram and reset those commands. Like, once those signals are crossed, they're crossed. So to have a medication uncross those signals, that's the only medication that's a one suit all for GP patients that just fixes it, if that makes sense, to a good extent. It's not like a cure, don't quote me, but it does help be able to consume food, which is inevitably the cure to your disease, is to be able to eat. When they say just eat to GP patients, you can't. But when you get on marijuana, that becomes the effect. So obviously the effect gets you to gaining weight, to, you know, having your body get back its nutrition, and that becomes a version of a cure for now for GP patients, to help them get back on their feet, help them get their nutrition back, help them get their vital signals up, and to be able to get back to normal life. And for you, eating solids.
Agree.
Yeah, eating solids. She went from a feeding tube to solid food, which in GP patients, you don't normally, once your disease hits a certain stage, it doesn't normally revert back to a better stage. Only like during flares, yes, but once you get certain feeding tubes, there's just kind of no going back at some point. But for her,
right,
she's been able to go back and still have the feeding tube and eat solids, which is an amazing gift that I wouldn't trade for anything. And anybody who tries to preach differently at this point, I would be, if they haven't walked in your shoes, then you can't preach to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't tell me to stop smoking marijuana if you're not living the same diseases or fighting the same fights and understand what the actual benefits are.
Right.
You know, I would never encourage someone to stop something that's fully benefiting them. And, you know, the side effects are way better than any pharmaceutical medication. Have you ever suffered any side effects from medications?
Oh, God. Like, Reglan, I can't take it. And now I have tardive dyskinesia because of it.
So you actually got a disease from the medication?
No, it's a side effect, and it can be permanent if you're not careful.
Okay, and that's like paralyzation of certain nerves, correct? Or like
it's
spasms?
Involuntary muscle twitching.
Okay, so
it's like involuntary muscle movements in the face and legs, and like you have to move. It's really uncomfortable. Yeah, and I've had a lot of medications that made me unable to function or talk to people. Like, it made me a zombie.
Okay.
And
marijuana's never done any of those to you.
No.
And marijuana hasn't given you another condition or a disease type, hypothetically.
Never.
Nothing like what you just went through, and no side effects of the sort. No negative.
No.
Have you ever had a negative side effect on marijuana or wax?
I mean, yeah, I'm sure everyone that smoked a few times in their life can say they've had a not so great experience one time or the other, but nothing like, I mean, it's made me extremely sleepy, which it does, but you can get different strains for that issue.
Yeah, but those side effects are livable side effects. So at this point,
no, I never had anything that was debilitating.
Yeah, so that's really good, and that's what I kind of want the audience to understand is the what you exchanged. You literally were taking medication that sounds like was making you sicker and permanently sick, to the point to where you still have these issues, but you're not even on those medications anymore. Imagine had you continued those medications, what level that would have progressed to.
Oh, God.
You feel me? At this point, if there were no other options, so marijuana sounds like has really been your savior, and I'm really super excited about that for you. I look forward to following your journey more. So what is your next goals with your GP? Like, what are your plans and what are your goals?
My next goal is to get my feeding tube removed after 5 years of having it. I think I'm finally at the weight and the point in my life where I'm able to. As for goals and stuff like that, I don't just live. my life, happily, and try to be as healthy as possible. Just try to make it through this. That's my goal.
That's a good goal for sure. I agree with that. Can't argue there.
But ultimately, getting my feeding tube out is the number one.
So
I'd like to be without any medical devices.
You should definitely call that doctor I gave you. He is not far from where you're located. And that doctor just might be the doctor that helps you get
he
your
might
mission
be my
accomplished.
answer.
So I would definitely like to follow your journey on both channels, Sprinkle Some Love with a Cause and the 420 Smoke Room, because I feel like your journey is specifically pot-induced. I definitely want to follow it on 420 Smoke Room and follow up with you. I feel like the pot has been a savior for you, and
it has.
I want to see how it continues to save you and how far does it get you on your road to recovery.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to come on here more.
Definitely. Plus, once you finish joining the 420 Smoke Room on Relevnt, which is where we're live right now at as well, you can go live with me more there. And there's even an open mic where you can just go on live and talk and ask people questions. You can chat in there. There's a lot of really awesome benefits in that platform that you can do. And then this will also air on all of our channels, just like Sprinkle for Some Love.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So excited.
Yeah, I enjoyed having a little sesh with you. I definitely want to do this again. And every Saturday night, sometimes I'm late, sometimes I'm early, around 7 p.m. Michigan time. I do a live open mic night with Lori and Steve from Texas. They're from Gift of Life Canna Care. And you should join us sometimes. You can hop on, you can chat with us, you can ask questions, we can just have a sesh, however.
That sounds really fun. I'd love to do that. You said every Saturday?
Yep. And those
for sure. I'll hop on.
I would love that. So until next time, everyone, thanks for joining thanks for joining 420 Smoke Room. Until next time,